We're back with a look at one of the major Senate hearings we are monitoring this hour. The confirmation hearing for President Trump's new pick to lead the Department of Homeland Security is underway. There you see Senator Markwayne Mullin in the hot seat, and it has already gotten contentious. Let's check in with MS Now's Ali Vitale live for us on the Hill, and we're also joined by a panel of experts, former ICE Deputy Chief of Staff John Amaya, MS Now contributor Paula Ramos, former DHS Chief of Staff Miles Taylor, and immigration attorney Veronica Cardenas. Let's go to Ali first. What stands out, Ali?
I think a few things stand out here. The first is that the strategy for Mullin is clearly to come and stay even keel, even after a moment where he has been known as someone who has been a brawler when he's been on the other side of hearings like this one. I think the other thing that's notable is no apologies, and that comes on a few different fronts. It comes with the chairman of the committee, Rand Paul, a fellow Republican who went after him in an absolutely blistering opening statement. I'm told by someone close to Paul that he's going to have to work really hard if he wants Paul to get to yes on his nomination, and frankly, not apologizing for some of the comments that Paul was bringing him to task for is probably not the way to do that. The other thing he didn't apologize for, Anna, is the way he spoke about Alex Preddy in the aftermath of his shooting by officials on the ground in Minneapolis. That's another key piece of this equation that Democrats would need to hear if they ever were to entertain a yes vote here.
That's right. He didn't apologize, but he did say he should have retracted his comments about Alex Preddy, which is notable given what we've seen with other candidates as well as current cabinet secretaries. Let's take it around the table for a quick reaction before we head back in. Miles, what stood out to you?
Well, there was an unusual exchange, Anna, about a allegedly classified trip that Markwayne Mullin took to an overseas conflict zone. And this is interesting because for the past couple of years, he's made allusions to the fact that he may have done work in conflict zones or classified work, and people didn't know if that meant, was he working with the CIA? Was he a defense contractor? And he revealed that when he was a member of Congress, he took SEER training. This is the training that, Navy SEALs take to survive and evade attacks. And he said he went to an overseas conflict zone, but that's all he could say. This is very unusual because I was working in the House at the time when Markwayne Mullin was there. He wasn't on the most sensitive national security committees, and I've never heard of members of Congress taking SEER training before undertaking classified missions in conflict zones. And I've taken members of Congress to those types of places. So that was very unusual. They're going to be digging into that statement.
Veronica, your thoughts on what we heard, especially given that Chairman Paul, Republican, really leaned into him about his temperament at a time when ICE has been under scrutiny for aggressive tactics and use of force.
Right. And so when I'm seeing this, I see someone who's trying to be a cross between Tom Homan and Kristi Noem. So we see what the Trump administration liked about Kristi Noem. It was her violence, right? She publicly stated that she killed her puppy, and then she wrote about it. And so this was something that was on display. Markwayne Mullin also has those elements that we could see in his past, but here he's stating that he may have some, he may have some ways to handle that, but the violence and the anger is still going to be at issue, especially because he's going to be leading DHS.
Your thoughts, Paula?
I think similarly to that, I think he's trying so hard to soften his voice to appear that he's retracting, but at the end of the day, what matters is the instinct. And it was the instinct to call Alex Preddy a deranged individual, right? That is what he thinks behind closed doors. It's the instinct to believe that the person that shot Renee Good, that he defended that ICE officer. It's the instinct and the internal belief that he holds, right? This is someone that believes that the U.S.-born children of immigrants should be deported. Those are his words. And so at the end of the day, when Donald Trump nominated him, he said two things. He's a MAGA warrior and he's an MMA fighter. That warrior ethos, that sort of macho bravado, that flexing with power, that's what he has.
And he did say Donald Trump is his friend, closely aligning with the president. John, final thought before we go back in.
Yeah, I would say that, I think we all understand the mistakes are a key part of learning. But the mistake to put someone who likes to role play and pretend to be tough and enforce the laws by horseback riding through the mountains or putting on a Kevlar vest or holding a machine gun didn't turn out well the first time.
Talking about Kristi Noem.
Talking about Kristi Noem. I don't know that this White House has learned their lesson about putting someone who's not qualified and likes to role play.
Well, he'll certainly be pressed on his qualifications. We can assume. Let's head back in.